Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a good wherever you are. JP here at Websites for Beginners with Zion Builder Reconstructed episode 3. And in this episode, we're going to build out some content. In 1 and 2, we looked at hero banners, but it's time we look a little bit at content. A very simple content section, but of course, a little bit challenging because the moment that we go into mobile, we have to stack it. And I'm going to show you how we do this with the column containers within Zion Builder and also work with the text elements. Very basic little display, very necessary for most websites because you will have a section where you will have to share some information and also get people maybe to click on something and take them somewhere. This is what we will be creating. Since episode 1 and 2, there has been a few updates, and I have to say great thanks to the guys over at Zion Builder. A lot of the bugs that I had discovered, well, I think all of them are gone. I cannot find them. I've been able to build it out very well, and I didn't run into any hiccups. I'm still learning Zion Builder. There is still a lot to learn because many other page builders come out with a few functionalities, and then as they grow, they add on more and add on more. Zion basically came out with the whole tutti. The only problem with that is that there is a little bit of, fine-tuning that needs to happen. And I'm very happy to see that there is feedback and that there is response to those little bugs that we find along the way and that they are being fixed. Before we jump in, one more thing. The lifetime license deal at $99 is going over at Appsumo. Link in the description below. Not sure when you are going to watch this video. By then it may be over. And this is not time bound. It is bound to 1,000 licenses. So if you are thinking, oh, I'll wait another week or two, it may happen sooner or it may happen later. But once those 1,000 licenses are gone, they are gone, baby gone. I cannot recommend, and I will not recommend, which page builder you should use. If that was my thing, I would only have 1 or 2 page builders on this channel. But we've got 8, and I count every add-on for Gutenberg as an additional page builder, and then themes as well. So it goes to 12, 13. It's up to you to find one that works for you and that satisfy the needs that you need it for. So that's why I cannot tell you, go get the $99 deal of Zion Builder. If you're a page builder collector or you're a deal hunter, hey, it's a no-brainer. Go get it. If you want something that's going to run your websites and you just want to make sure it's there for the future, you have to always see this as an investment. Is there in the future? Yes or no? We don't know. Anything is possible. Let's close this dialog, go to Pages, Add New, and we call this one Recon 03 and publish. And I'm just amazed every time when you click on this button, how quick it goes right inside Zion Builder. Let's change out the page canvas, go to the sidebar on the left, settings, and then select page options, page layout, and then Zion Builder blank canvas. And this will give us the blank canvas to work with. Click on the plus that says insert, what does it say? Insert element, something like that. And we have the layouts over here. Let's have a quick look at the container elements. So I'll just click here on this 2 column. And then we get the section and we get a column inside it. If you get a little bit confused and you want to have a better idea of what's going on, you can go to the tree view. On the left here, select that and wireframe. Actually, that's the one I'm looking for. You see section with columns inside. Takes us back many, many years ago when we used to do all of this in the back end. I'll close this and go back to our page. And now I want to focus on the fact that once we have created these columns, there is the option to add now other elements. And the first one at the top is layout elements. You see here section, columns, sidebar, container, modal. Modal is pop-up. Sidebar is going to work with the widgets that you're going to be bringing in the back within WordPress. Section, you should only use for your main container. That's going to be the blue one. And I say you should only because look what happens if I click on it. You can actually drop a section within a column. This is important to understand. I'll double click on it to open the settings here in the editor on the left. The difference is this HTML tag set to section. That should be your main container, and you shouldn't use it. I wouldn't recommend you use it within columns. You can be the cowboy, don't care. It won't break your site. You can still do everything you need with it. But because of this HTML tag, I'm pretty sure you don't want a section within a section. Delete that, right click, delete. We are back to the 2 columns. Click again on Insert Inside Column, and then we can bring in a column inside a column. With this, you can build out great structures. I'll click on it, and now you can see column within a column. And if you want better view, go to wireframe. There's your section, your 2 parent columns, and then the child column in here. Close. Let's duplicate. Hover over the column, right click, and select duplicate. And let's do it one more time. Right click, duplicate. Now we have the parent column here. Let me grab my little draw tool because it's very difficult actually to see it. You have a parent container here, and then you have those 3 columns inside. And what we'll do now is that we will take the parent container and tell it to structure everything inside it horizontally so that we can have these 3 columns adjacent. Clear that. Select the main parent container by double clicking on it. And I'm not sure whether I did select it. If you're not sure, just go up here to the settings, click on it, and select the edit element. This is something that is a little problem for anything that's at the top. You won't be able to see all the tools. At least the tool tip goes to the bottom. Click on edit element. Then you have one more way to select it, and that's with this tree view up here. Very nice. I like this. I've gotten so used to it, I start using it all the time. You want this section, you select on it, and now you can see your 2 columns and then the 3 columns within this column. Select this one then. Go here to Content Orientation and put it on horizontal. And now you will see that those 3 columns inside the column are next to each other. And this is how you're going to be working with the columns. One more container is the container. And the container appears blue. Now, if I click on the container and we go to General, HTML tag is a div. Div is the easy word for container. If I go to a column and I double click on it, HTML tag is div. But you will see when I double click on the container, can you see here in the settings? Observe here on the left. What's the difference? Right, so basically your container is not meant to be used as columns. So if you want to have 2 divs next to each other, 2 containers, you use columns. If you just want one container to rule them all, like the section, but within the section, you're going to use the container. Does it make sense? You can basically call the container a row. Many other page builders will call it a row. Keep that in mind. Just a quick little look at what's going on here. Don't get confused with it. Probably in most cases, you're not going to be using the container. You're going to be using columns. In Oxygen, it's called a div. And in Bricks, it's called a container. They all have the same functionality. And it's basically up to you how you create this structure. I'll delete this entire section to start afresh. Right-click and select delete. Let's bring in the section that we will be working with. Click here on Insert Inside, and I will select 3 columns. Double click on the section, which is the blue area, to open up your settings over here. I will work on the section first. Apply some padding at the top. Go up here until you see that blue bar appears. Click drag, and you will see the pixel amount here in the middle. And I want to have it at 60. I also want the bottom to be at 60. So hold Control, Command on your keyboard. And now you will have the opposite side select, and you can bring in 60. There we go, and let it go. The next thing I will do is to increase the canvas width of this container. Currently, you will see this column stretches up to here, and this one stretches up to here. That is your canvas width, so a little bit like this. And that is set to this value over here, inner content width of 1120 pixels. This is actually pretty good. It will satisfy most laptops. But in case you want it a little bit bigger or smaller, then you do it over here. For example, if you're working with a blog, blogging content is often more boxed. Then you will reduce this even as small as 800. Some people even go smaller, depending on whether you have sidebars or the structure, how you want it to look. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'll just close this. And then I will double click to select everything. Here though, I've created a situation for myself. And that is, if I type in 1300 now, which is the value I want to use, and I hover here, you will not notice anything really happened with this inner content width. And the reason is because I double clicked, I have also selected the PX for pixels. And now Design Builder doesn't know what I want. So you need to put back the PX. Just remember, don't do what I did. Try and just change the value like so by selecting the value. If you select double click, you have to type in the PX as well. Other values don't have this issue, but you just have to take notice of that. You can also choose percentage and auto and custom. Now our container and the inner width is wider. Next, I will set up my columns to the ratio I want them to appear. If I double click on this one, you will see the column width is set to 4. So 4 out of 12 gives us 33.33%. And that's 3 columns next to each other. Each one is a third. This one I want to leave at a third. This one, the second column, I'm going to use as a spacer between these two. Let me show you. You see, there is some space here. Now this I can achieve by padding here on the left of this column or padding on the right of this column. I've picked up this from other page builders where you just use an empty column to control this space. And I've decided, let's try that for this one as well. So we're going to do the same. What I will do then, double click on this column, make sure it's selected. I'm going to give it a value of 1. So we have this column at 4, this at 1. So this one, if we double click, is still by default at 4. But we need to put it on 7. Right? Because you have 4 plus 1 plus 7 gives you 12. You always try and get up to 12. And that will give you the full canvas, which we had put at 1300 pixels. Let's bring in the content. We go to the first column and click here, Insert Inside Column. And we can use heading or we can use text. I will start with the heading to show you something, and then I'm probably going to switch to text just to show you the alternative. Click on heading and let's type in our text, the moment we knew. And now you may be tempted to think that the settings here on the left is that of the text box. Of course, this will be wrong. This is still the column 7, this column over here. The text element is always going to give you this little bit of a snack. Maybe this is something that Design Builder developer team can still figure out. I don't know what to say here. Every inline editor kind of will suffer from this. But I would hope that when you double click the content, it should also open up the settings here on the left instinctively, because that's what I expect it to be. It hasn't opened, so you've got those options again. You can go up here to click here on Edit Element, or you can go to the tree view here and select the first column and then select heading. Or what I found is if you go to the thin blue line and you double click on it, it will also open up the settings for you. Let's do that again. And there we go. We have our editor here, our text box with the moment we knew, and we can make changes here. This is where I want to show you that if you go and select one of these headings, these are purely styles. They are not your H1, H2, your HTML tags. The reason I say that because you will see HTML tag is done independently down here. So if you want to assign this an HTML tag to index it, you will do it from here, not from here. If I select, let's say, heading 2 here, we will get it nicely set up. But now when you go to styling, wrapper, topography, font family, and you click on any of these fonts, you will see nothing happens. What's going on here is that this is not taken from Design Builder. This is taken from your theme, and you cannot override it here the moment you put it on any of these from heading 1 to heading 2. If you go down, click on it and put it on paragraph, now you have the power to change it. So topography, Times New Roman, work sans, you can see it updates beautifully. So what's the story here? I believe the story here is that this little editor is the archaic dinosaur way of how it is done within WordPress, and it's just brought in by default nicely to be done. But because these styles are not linked to the HTML tag, you're basically going to work with paragraph and then put it on your HTML tag, which you want, in this case, H2. And then you can go in and you can make those changes as you please. Right click on it and select delete, and then we go again to insert inside column. And this time we bring in the text content element. Right, let's select and we go here and we type in the moment we knew, ... And now when we go to styling, we're going to have all the features again. It's important though, you don't have HTML tags here. So if you want this to be assigned to an HTML tag, you will have to use the heading. Just remember, if you want to make that custom styling within it, you won't be able to do that for the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. You will need to select paragraph like I had shown you, put your HTML tag on whichever one you choose, and then you can go and make that styling. Simple as that. In this case, I'm not going to care about the HTML tag, so I'll select wrapper. We go to topography, and I want to use a font called Merriweather Sans. Now, Merriweather Sans is not included by default. First thing, thank you, big thank you to the guys over at Design Builder. In the previous tutorials, the fonts that we brought in by ourselves, I brought in Poppins and Work Sans, appeared at the bottom. My comment was that these are the fonts I want to work with, so if they appear at the bottom, I have to scroll every time to the bottom to go and get them. It should be at the top. So thank you so much for giving us this, because this just makes it much more easier, and it makes me really happy that this feedback was useful. Now, I set it on Poppins. I don't want to use Poppins. You see the little green dot appears to show you that you've made changes. Hover over it, discard changes. I want to go get Merriweather Sans. To do that, I have to go back to the Design Builder dashboard and get it from there. So first thing is we're going to save our page. You can do that by hitting Control S, Command S on the Mac, or you can go here to the bottom left and just click on this check, and that will save and publish it for you. Go one up and select Design Builder Dashboard. Select Font Options, Google Fonts, and these are the two that we worked with previously, Poppins and Work Sans. Click on Add Font, and we select and search for Merriweather Sans, this one, and click on plus. Now it's going to load only the regular, which is your 400 weight. So select it. And now another big thank you to the Design Builder team. Previously, this dialog box would stretch and sometimes it would block out here at the top of the screen. Now they've given us the scroll bar. These weights aren't loaded by default, so you need to go and select them if you want to use them. And I will just select them all because you never know, maybe on later you're going to select one and you're not going to see that it make a change within the builder, and you're going to be very frustrated. And it's because you just didn't load that variant over here. Good. And then we delete these two because we're not going to be using this. Yes, delete the font. And yes, delete the font. We go back to our page, all pages, Recon 03, and select Edit with Design Builder. Go to our text. I'll double click on the blue box, styling, wrapper, topography. And now Merryweather Suns appears here at the top. Select that and it updates. Very nice. Font weight, I'll put this on 600. Font color, I'll choose something over here on a grayscale. What is that? 41, 41, 41. And then font size, put it on 40. And that's all I need to do here. The line height may be a little bit too much. So we select M because that's what I prefer for my line height. And I'll type in 1.3. And usually you will hear me give you this advice. If it is a heading like this one, your line height is going to be 1.2, 1.3 M. If it is paragraph text, what we will do next, it's going to be between 1.6 to 1.8. And it varies because different fonts look different with the same M value. So sometimes one font will work with a 1.2 M for a heading. Other fonts will work with a 1.3. So you just look around. If it looks too squashed, you give it a little bit more M space. It's better to make it wider and more spacier than to squash it too much. That just doesn't look good, unprofessional. Rather bring in that space. And there we go. This one we are good with. This column here is our white space. And now for this column, we're going to have two columns inside it in which the info and our call to action button is going to be. So I want to bring in a column. Click here, select column. And now you notice I have a column inside this column. But I need two, right click, duplicate, and I have two. I need them next to each other. So what I will do is I will double click on this column, go to the left, column options, and select the parent column. Go down to content orientation because currently they are stacked. That's what vertical means. All the elements are on top of each other. I want them next to each other. That's horizontal. So I select horizontal. And now these two will appear next to each other. You see, it's starting to take shape very, very nicely. Click in the first one, insert inside column, and I'll look for a text element again. It's just plain paragraph. Drop that in there. Let's select everything. I open up loremipsum.io and we grab some text here. I'm not going to generate anything. Let's grab it from here to here. Copy. Right, it's selected here and paste. And when I paste it, it's going to take the formatting from the site. So what we do, go to the editor on the left, select everything within the text box, Control A, and then over here, you go to Toolbar Toggle, open that and select Clear Formatting. And that will remove all the formatting for us. Now we are working with our text, styling, wrapper, topography, font family, Merryweather Suns, and we will leave this on 400. 400 is the regular font weight. So if you see 400, you cannot go wrong with that. Let's go to font color. We type in again that one, 41, 41, 41. And then font size, by default it is 16, but I'll type in 16 again. And then line height, I'll put it on M. Now remember I told you when we work with paragraph, like in this case, it's 1.6, so 1.6. Now we want these two columns to remain the same size, but because this text has stretched, it has pushed that column smaller. Double click on the column, and then here where the column width is, we're going now to put it on 6 because 6 out of 12 gives us half the space. And that's within the main parent container. And we don't have to worry about this one at this moment because we're not going to use this one. We're going to finish this one and then we're going to clone it and copy it and then just remove that one. So remember, it will always take 50%. 6 out of 12 gives us 50% of the main container. And that's it. We're done with this one. Nothing else that we need to do there. We bring in our button, insert after text, elements, select button, click on button, and another bug that had been fixed, a great thank you again, is that when you selected or searched for elements down here, it would give you duplications. It would be very confusing, nicely cleaned up. Thank you for that. And then we have the button. Let's double click on the button. And then from here, button text, see more. Let's do that. We're not going to use an icon. Let's add a link here, which is going to be the websites for beginners, w4b.io. And we want to open it in a new window. Then your button type, leave that on primary. And I think we just remove it to a small button. It's going to be just a small little link there for people who want to see more. Styling, let's go to styling and we go to button styles. The background. Strangely enough, this comes with this blue background, but there is no way to clear it. The only way to clear it is that you need to reduce the opacity. So I'll grab the opacity slider all the way to the left, which means it's fully transparent at this moment. Even though there is a delete here, the moment I press delete, it takes me back to the blue. So take note of that. As we are doing this manually, you will need to reduce the opacity here. That is our background. Let's go to topography. And the first thing we will do is change the color because we cannot see anything. Remember our hex 41, 41, 41. And if I don't see it, just put a 41, 41, 41. I don't see it. Let's see if we put a hashtag in front of it. There we go. Much better. And what else do we have here? I'm going to align it to the left. Font family is going to be Merriweather. Font weight 400. I'm going to put it on 900. And then I'm going to put it on italics. Now this is important. I don't really want to divert here, but just let me quickly mention this. In Design Builder Dashboard, we loaded the italic versions, the variants of this. If we hadn't loaded it and I used the italic here, it will look different. It skews it. It doesn't use the italic variant. The italic variant isn't just slanting it or making it go to the right. It is a specific font created for it to look different when it is in italics. So that's very important that you do have to load the italic variants in Design Builder Dashboard. Otherwise, when you use the italics feature here, it's not going to give you the proper rendering of how it should look. Remember that, please. Font size, we're going to put on 16. No, I think we want to keep this one small. Let's try 14. Good. So 14. And I think we are done here. Good. Click back. Next, borders and shadows. We'll apply a border at the bottom. So we select the bottom one. And the color is going to be hash 41, 41, 41. Right. And then the width, I'll put it on 4 pixels and it's solid. 4. Shall we take it down to 1? Let's see. Okay, 3 pixels I think is better. Click back. Next, size and spacing. We go to padding, link everything and type in a 0. There is default padding applied. Then unlink, go to bottom padding, and I'll add 3 pixels so that we have that little bit of white space between the text of the button and the line. Go to margin because these two elements are too close to each other. We want to apply margin. I'll click and just drag and we'll take it around to, let's say 25. Can I take it shift? Yeah, hold shift. And as I hold shift, you will see it jumps in increments of 5. I love it. 25 pixels. Super duper. There we go. That's all we need to do for this. That's how quickly we have created this. Right? Looking good. We'll go to this column, click on it, and then select clone element. And that's going to give us a second one. Now remember, because we put this one to be 50% of the container it is, and it is cloned, the second one will also be 50%. But there is a third one. And the third one is now squashed in here with basically 0 pixels. We don't want to leave it there. We want to get rid of it. Now, how do we delete that one? Open column tool. Is this the same one? See, now one of these columns are hidden there. We cannot get to them. Let's see if we can find that over here. Okay, good. So we go to our layout, tree view panel, and let's just section, column. Okay, let's close all of these. 3 columns. So we know this is our third column. There's column 1, column 2, and here is the third one, right? So is there a way to collapse all of this? Big feature request, Design Builder developers, give us collapse all if you can for these guys. This is our 50% column, our second 50% column, and this is the one you can see actually there's a little blue bar there in the top right where we cannot see it, but we don't want it. Click on the 3 dots and select delete, and now it is gone. Close the page. Super. And that's it. There we go. Let's save our work. Control Command S. Go one up and click on View Post. It opens a new tab for us. And that is as simple as it gets. However, you saw that even though this is a very simple section, it's a very important one, and we had to do a few things to make it work. Sometimes the simple things take a little bit extra TLC. However, we know that this is not the end. What we need to do is go and make sure that it will also look good on tablets and on mobile devices. We go back into Design Builder, and from the sidebar, we click on Laptop. This is how it will look on a laptop. And we judge it and we think, hey, it looks okay. I'm curious. Let me just open this section quickly. So inner content, interesting. I wonder what is the setting for laptop here by default. We'll have to ask the guys at Design Builder, what is the setting here? Then tablet, next one. I like it on tablet. Looks also good on tablet, even though we have the moment we knew breaking now into 3 lines. I still think it's fair enough. And then we hit on over to mobile. And what you're going to notice on mobile is, hey, what happened to our second column? And now you have to remember how it works in Design Builder, because every page builder may do responsive settings a little bit different. Some, like Brizy, works independent. So how the mobile looks, it doesn't take any information from your desktop. And what I mean here, if we go to our column here, the main parent column here for these two, let's go to Edit. We have told it to be horizontal, which means all the content, these two, will be next to each other. And that will be remembered when we go into Laptop. It's still horizontal. It will be remembered when you go to tablet as well as mobile. It's still horizontal. So actually, if you notice here on the right, as I hover there, that second column is running off the page because this column still insists to keep the things next to each other. So while we are in this view here, all you need to do now is tell this column, hey, now you have to stack, you have to be vertical. And you select vertical, voila, there it is. Very simple. This column here looks like it is adding space, but remember, an empty column is basically nothing. There's nothing there. There is no value there. So even though we have this column here, it's not adding space between this heading and then this paragraph. A few things that we're going to switch up quickly here. Let me go to the column first. You see there is some padding here on the left. I don't want that. I'll go to Styling, Wrapper, and then we go to Size and Spacing, and then padding here on the left. I'll type in 0 just to align this nicely to the left. Next, I will go to this text element, hover outside it until I see an orange bar appears. There we go. And I'll drag in about, let's make it 35 pixels of space there. Oh yeah, I can hold Shift. That should give me 35. And indeed it did. And let's see how this will look on the front end. Control Command S. And we go to View Post. It will update. Let's grab this URL. Control C, Command C. Go into Polypane, and I will paste this link now. And there we go. Right, so it's updated. I made a few changes here. I made this font smaller. Everything looks good, except you can see this point I made that we have this column between the heading and this one over here, the text. But because it's empty, we don't see anything going on here. So we need to bring in some space over there. Let's go back into the builder. I will go up here to this text element, hover outside it until I see that orange or yellow appears. Click and drag. And we put around 40 for this one. Give it a little bit more space. Save, Control Command S. Go back to Polypane. Where? Polypane. Where is Polypane? Oh, this is. Refresh. And that looks much better. Right, so before we go, let's work quickly with copy styles so you can also see how that works and that it works very, very well in Zion Builder. Go back into the builder. I'll close out all of this. And now afterwards, you decide that you need to make a few changes here. For example, let's say you want to change the font. I will go quickly into our Zion Builder dashboard. We bring in a new font, font options, Google, and this one is called Laura Lee. And then we go again, and I'll just bring in all the variants for Laura. Right, pages. It's quick, right? Edit with Zion Builder. Sure, it is quick. And then we go to this one. We go to the first paragraph and select the text. I double click on the blue line, go to styling, wrapper, and we go to topography, change it, and we call it Laura. Now, all I need to do is go over to this text element, right click, select copy element styles, go to this one, right click, and select paste element styles. Updates very, very quickly. Of course, if you are selectors, we'll talk about that in the future, you can just change one and it will update the rest as well. Let's do the same for this, just to show you the copy element styles. Again, we go to styling, we go to button styles, topography, and we put it on Laura. Let's make it a little bit bigger also. Put it on 16. And then we right click here, copy element styles, right click here, paste element styles. Voila. And even if we go into mobile, for example, and let's say we want to reduce the space here. For some reason, there's too much space here. And let's say I want to reduce it. I can go and apply negative margin. I hover outside the button and I'll click and drag up. Now, when I right click on it, copy element styles, go to this one and paste element styles. And let's see if that worked in real time also on the front. Control S, Command S. Go to Polypane, refresh. That is actually no functional space, even though it looked like that on the builder. Interesting. I wonder what it is then that is applied there. So let's go back to it, select it, and I will go back here and drag it like so. Copy element styles, paste element styles, save. Control S, Command S. That's why we love developers apps. Yeah, it looks good. Stunning. And that takes us into websites for beginners. Great. That brings us to the end of this episode 3 of Zion Builder Reconstructed. I'm impressed. The complaints I had in the previous 2 seems to be gone. There's still a few things here that I would definitely love to see. Far more control with breakpoints when it comes to responsive design. Definitely, that is something that I would like to see. And then I didn't really pick up anything important to change for the content that we had been creating in terms of this section. So no big complaints here. When we work in the future with other elements or images, maybe we'll bump into a few other things as well. But this bodes well for Zion Builder. This was quick turnaround. Thank you very much for that, guys. Keep working on this product. If this is how quickly things can get turned around and fixed, and it works, then there is a bright future for Zion Builder ahead. Ta-da! That brings us then to the end. Thank you very much. Enjoy this Independence Day, and see you again in the next video. From me, JP, stay safe.